At the end of Garry Marshall's autobiography, he has 13 tips for actors. We're going to discuss them today.
Acting Class Weekly with legendary character actor Sean Whalen. Lessons, tips, and insight into the craft and business of acting from a man who's been directed by the likes of Spielberg, Eastwood, Tim Burton, Ang Lee, Michael Bay, Wes Craven, Tom Hanks, and many more of Hollywood's A-list. He is 30 years an actor and your professor, Sean Whalen.
Really? A very strange topic in here, but let's move to what we know. Let's talk about my clothes. This is because of a teacher audition today, and we've all talked about how this is very teachery. But I do want to discuss...
Very
professory, but this was actually a teacher, like an elementary school teacher. But he's supposed to be a little pompous. So I thought this was a little pompous, you know.
I don't typically pick my clothes to be pompous, but I understand what you're going for.
No, but when they said that, I went for this, and I was going to do this or a sweater vest, and a lot of guys were wearing a sweater vest.
That was today for an audition?
Yeah.
What was it for? What kind of thing?
It's a kids sitcom.
Kids sitcom.
Kids sitcom. But I did want to discuss something. And I forgot my belt when I went to this audition, and I had a tucked-in shirt, no belt, and I thought, this is pretty bad. And then I saw several guys like that, and then in the street and in the mall later on, I saw many guys with the tucked-in shirt and no belt. Is the no belt thing a thing?
I think you're going to have to ask our amazing
Mr.
producer.
Funtabulous. I'm going to introduce you first. Our producer, Mr. Funtabulous, Jeff Graham. Jeff Graham, weigh in on this, please.
Thrilled to be here, guys. The no belt thing is an interesting question. Here's what I'll say. I had a very short period of my life where I was working with a ton of British people.
Okay.
And many British men tuck with no belt. That feels like a very European thing to me.
Interesting.
Was this when you were working on a cruise?
This is when I was working on a cruise.
Okay.
And the French tuck is obviously big because of Queer Eye.
Yes,
But that's only the front.
No. I know, but I'm saying
I'm just trying to be clear, though.
Right, but Euro is moving over here. That's why maybe it's permeating our society at this time.
That's true. Tan is very hot right now.
Tan's very hot. He doesn't talk about tucking with no belt, but I thought, I guess I'm not as stressed if I forget my belt anymore. And now I'm feel okay.
What you've done is you put me in a position where either I agree with you or I stress you out.
No, neither one. I'm just curious what you think.
I prefer belt.
But that's because, and I'm going to go hard, you're old school Boston, East Coast.
Yes. I have a belt preference.
Yeah. And I think I would, but you know what? The person I should really ask is my girlfriend.
Yeah, that's the only person that
That's
matters.
the only person that
in this
really
situation.
matters. And if she really doesn't like
First
it.
casting director, second
Yes,
girlfriend.
there you go.
Yeah. Order of life.
And this beautiful opinion is my beautiful co-host.
Yeah.
Miss Phenomenal, Roxy Striar.
I said, yeah, it was so weird. Beautiful opinion, beautiful co-host. Yeah.
Am I allowed to say you're beautiful?
I don't know. We talk about it at the network sometimes. Where rely on that, Jeff?
My girlfriend is in HR, and she,
She teeter-totters on it?
Well, she says it depends on your relationship, how long you know each other. I think
you
if
to
it was
me,
day one.
Definitely
Right, if it
at
was
this
day
point.
one.
And then also you called my opinion beautiful too, which was really sweet.
Well, I forgot that I said that.
Didn't
Can
you
I
say
take
that?
back?
Did I just hear it in my head?
I don't know. Maybe you said it on your
Killing
side.
it so far, Sean.
So I have been talking so much about the autobiographies that I'm listening to. Right now I'm listening to Dick Van Dyke. And
Cool.
I just listened to Garry Marshall. Now,
what are you using? Audible?
Audible, yeah.
And are you paying that $14 a month?
I did that, but I racked up so many that I just went through and downloaded a bunch, and I'm almost done my library right now, are the ones that I was going to use.
Because I love Audible, but I find myself spending so much money.
The $14.95 was really good. I liked it.
Yeah,
But I mean, I can knock out 2 books a month, which is great. It's really fun. But people, Garry Marshall, My Generation, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy. Older, maybe Roxy's generation, Princess Diaries, Pretty Woman, Princess Diaries 2.
But Pretty Woman, I feel like those, what, you didn't
Valentine's
watch those?
Day. Yeah, I watched them because I had, my daughters loved them. We didn't take them to a theater.
Pretty
to see
Woman,
them,
your young
not
okay.
Pretty Woman. No. Pretty Woman falls in a weird range, but it's kind of that timeless classic movie almost.
Jeff, what's your go-to Garry Marshall?
film or TV show?
Probably Princess Diaries.
Do you like the abbrev he just did?
Just
Yeah,
No, I
you seem
probably
so
love that
ashamed. You seem
Princess.
so ashamed. Listen, to me, his best work, hands down, is The Odd Couple. Unbelievable. Like, so good. I feel like, Jack Klugman and who was it? Jack Klugman and who was in the movie?
I'm not sure.
Anybody?
My team, no.
Oh my God, he's
Jeff has a computer, so he's...
Jack Klugman. No, not a Jack Klugman. Walter Matthau and
Jack Lemmon.
Jack Lemmon. That's why I was saying Jack.
Oh, because
I was stuck on the Jack, and it was stuck. So those two, obviously amazing, but Jack Klugman and Tony Randall, unbelievable. Like, I would argue just as good or possibly even better as The Odd Couple. Unbelievable. But so big influencer on TV in the 70s, then moved into film and had 20, 30 years in movies. Broke Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, broke Anne Hathaway in Princess Diaries. So you know his work. I know you know his work. So at the very end of his autobiography, and he's got I talked about him last week with the last show we did with Danny, like, was I going to continue this? Because he talks such a huge accent, and he'd always say, they ask me, how do I become a star? And I say, I don't know how you become a star. Yeah, and I was like, what is he saying, a star? But he said, but I have 13 tips, and I want to discuss them and see how, they worked for me. Do we agree with them? Stuff we've talked about on the show. And really kind of flesh them out. So we're going to talk about those. And then at the very end, I'm going to talk about, I talked a little bit about it with Danny, working with Garry on Never Been Kissed. And as a bonus, because he did Happy Days, when I met Henry Winkler.
And then I'll tell you about when I met Henry Winkler.
Pound that. I don't know why I just did that. I've never done that on this podcast.
It was actually kind of cool and smooth, and then you called it out.
I should have just let it go.
Let it go.
Yeah, let it go. I should have.
Pound that. We both met Henry Winkler. Pound that. Pound
Move
that.
on. Yeah. See, she's my podcast mentor, and I just made a podcast faux pas.
Faux podcast.
Yes, a faux podcast. We love it. Write that down. Mr. Funtabulous, we're going to get rich.
Trademark? Copyright?
Trademark, copyright.
I'm still confused on which is which.
All right. So that's what's happening today. But before we get into it, we always talk about Sean's Week. It's the post-Thanksgiving Sean's Week. Ready?
So should we do it like we have turkeys in our belly?
Maybe a full, like a
full belly.
Like a full, like we're full.
Almost like Santa's coming, but
quite
also
satisfied.
turkey.
Yeah, it could be a little pre-Santa full. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Sean's Week. I think it was really
what
good.
that was. It was pretty good. But everything we said it should be, it was. It
And
totally
more.
was. And more. All right. So this week, really, kind of funny that I never talk about it in my Sean's Week. A lot of juggling of scheduling for this actual podcast.
Ooh.
Got some cool guests
Change things
coming
around
in.
for us?
Well, no, I mean, it's always in there, but this time I've had several people go, 3 people said, I can come December 11th. And now I had to juggle and shift and stuff like that. So that was crazy. But we've got 2 very big casting directors, Scott Boland, Victoria Burrows, coming in next week. Very cool. It's going to be very exciting. Look them up and get your questions ready. Also,
I'll be for that. I'll try to be in the live chat too, so we can get live questions for the show. Which, guys, is on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Yes, I did just click on my phone to know what time it is.
There you go. That's
It's been one of those.
And then the auditions, I've had a very kind of serious one, a very serious dramatic one. I did, cleared my day on Monday and really did that work. And then,
what kind of thing?
It was a pilot for a dystopian kind of area where New York is in the future, but it's it's kind of like Escape from New York-ish almost. And I played like a sleazy dealer of goods and, kind of taking advantage of people and a scumbag and stuff like that. So
is it typical for you to be auditioning for pilots during this time?
Yeah, it starts. And a lot of times what you want to do for a guy like me, because everyone knows me, but I haven't done a lot of TV testing, stuff like that. I want to get a guest star. That's what I want to do, because I know if I can get in there and do a good job, I'll recur. And that's what happened on Superstore. I had just a couple lines in the first scene, and then it grew to
like
several.
That.
Yeah, so that's what I like to do. And then one today, which was fun, kid show, but man, I am at that level, and I've talked about this before. The guys that walked in are all, there's an Indian character actor, I forget his name, but like I knew everybody's face. I knew everybody, and they're all excellent. And you look at this part and you go, any one of these guys could do this, and they're all excellent. So it's kind of weird. There was a spell where I was working with a lot of people that just weren't as seasoned as me, didn't have the instincts as me, but now every audition I go in, they're all excellent. They're all excellent. They're just different. So it's
do you like that, or does that make you frustrated?
It makes it harder because it
Yeah, but then if you don't get the job, you lost it out to somebody excellent.
Exactly. But the other thing is, it was always kind of fun to sit out there and you hear someone suck in the room because then you're like, oh, I'm gonna blow them away, and that was always fun. And here was a really good lesson.
Sean's evil side.
My evil side. The other day when I was in my audition, the drama audition, the woman finished the scene. She goes, okay, let's do it again. I have notes. And I said, okay. And then I started the scene. I stopped immediately and go, wait. Did you say you had notes? Because I didn't get them. She goes, no. I said, I have no notes. And I went, oh, okay. And then we went again. No big deal, guys. No big deal. I thought she said she had notes and she didn't give them to me. So I stopped it and did it. I didn't go, hey, you said you had, or I didn't.
Why did you start the scene? Without
she just started rolling, and I went, and I just knew that was wrong. That I should go. I think she said she had notes, and she didn't give them. So I didn't really go into a few lines.
Do they often give you no notes and ask you to do the scene again?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes you never know what you're going to get. There's no often anything. You know what I mean? Everything's so different. Mm-hmm. But she said. She said no, and I said anything different. Anything different, or no? I said anything different. She said no, just try something different. And then she stopped for a second. So and I've told you this guys before on the audition show. She paused for just a second, and I go, "Do you want it more snarky?" I just threw anything out, and she goes, "No, not more snarky, more threatening." Whenever you see a window, try to dive in and get her to be more specific.
Because then you know what she's looking for.
Then you know a good, and then I had a really good variance, and she said, great, and it was excellent. So, and guys were in there a long time. It makes me feel good because I'm getting in and out, and they're saying, you're really good job. But then the guys that are in there a long time, I go, man, maybe they're getting a better thing. But all the casting directors I talked to said, no, it's really good
Sean,
because you're nailing it.
Sean, think about all the times you've been cast, though.
Yeah.
Every time you were cast, were you in there a really long time?
No,
so
not usually.
It doesn't make a...
Doesn't make sense, but listen, it's great because I feel like I'm doing a good job. I'm doing the right thing. They don't have to adjust me. They go, oh, he gets it. He understands it. He knows how he feels about all of this.
I mean, being my acting coach, I watch you break down material, and I'm like, wow, I did not see that.
Yeah,
so you're very, very quick with this script.
Yeah, it's true. I have to just trust that and have fun with it, which I do. It's just weird, these guys are in there for 20 minutes, and then I go in for 10 or 5. And I'm going, no, I have no notes. It was great. And you go, wow, that's weird. And then before we jump into Garry's acting tips, Roxy has some stuff to tell us about AfterBuzz and how this is the worst. This is
it's
actually
so good.
the
Ready,
worst
guys?
transition.
We'll try it again.
Okay,
Sean,
let me do it again.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Let's build one.
Okay, so my day was lovely, and I'm so happy to hear your story about your auditions. Congratulations, you've had so many recently.
Yeah, I have had it, and I'd love for more people to hear about my auditions and things that we do on the show. Roxy, can you tell them how we can do that?
Absolutely, I can, Sean. First of all, wherever you are, guys, right now, know that we are available via audio. We also are on video. Rate, comment, subscribe on iTunes, on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, all the amazing places. And we love those comments because we want to hear what you guys have to say. That's how we actually pick our shows, based on what you guys are saying. We have some amazing comments that came through this past week. I don't know whether people were feeling extra generous because it was the holidays or what, but every week we do read your iTunes reviews on the show, also your YouTube comments, so keep those coming in. This first one from Monday is coming from JH of 01. Wow. Sean, I asked if you knew who that person was, like that was a name. Whoever you are, JH, thank you for this. 5 stars they gave us, because really that's the only amount of stars there are. And fantastic advice and info is the title of this.
Wow.
JH said, I look forward to listening to this podcast every day, or once a week, but maybe they're catching up.
Nice.
I am preparing to take my first acting class, and I feel more prepared with a bit of a foundation now that I have listened to this podcast and read some of the suggested books. So they're really going to like this one today.
Nice.
Funny and easygoing, Roxy and Sean make a great team. Thanks for the extra dose of motivation as I pursue my new adventure.
That's so cool.
How awesome is that?
That is amazing. That's
JH
like
is
everything
badass.
we want.
Yeah,
Go JH.
Exactly. And F you, Jeff, because they didn't mention you. On to this one, which came right before Thanksgiving from Brooke Craven. Thank you, Brooke Craven, who gave us 5 stars and titled it Awesome Podcast with 2 exclamation points.
Wow.
Thank you, Brooke. She says, Sean, host of Acting Class Weekly podcast, highlights all aspects of performance arts, acting, and more in this can't miss podcast. The host and expert guests offer insightful advice and information that is helpful to anyone that listens. Really appreciate that, Brooke. So if you guys want to be cool like JH and Brooke, don't forget to leave a comment. Again, 5-star, subscribe, thumbs up wherever you are. We really appreciate it. And we'll have more for you next week.
Very humbled. Very humbled. But listen, the goal was by our founder, Keven Undergaro, to say to people who don't have the access. And obviously, JH or whatever, we are reaching him, which is great. And so it's nice to have a goal and actually nailing it a little bit. So that's really, nail it. All right, let's jump into Garry Marshall. He had a long book, talks about his whole life, his career. I'm going to do a podcast about the autobiographies I read and the main things I took from them. But this one at the very end, he just very quickly, and I thought, oh, this is great. He said 13 tips for actors. And we're just going to digest them if I did them, did we talk about them on this show, and discuss them openly. The first one, very simple. He says, go to school. Study acting. He himself kind of was studied by his mom. His mom was taught tap in the basement of his Brooklyn apartment and would put on shows and sketch shows and tap shows. And then she said, I need a drummer. She taught him how to play drums. She just really, really, through hands-on, he just got a schooling on show business and writing sketches, and then he just kept going and going and going. So, but he said, it will prepare you for the business you've chosen. Now, I misheard it the first time. I thought, well, the business part of it, but that's not what he meant. He just said, so when you get an audition, you know how to do it and know how to break
not the
it
business.
Down.
That's what I thought. The industry that you
industry that you get in. So, and we've talked about on this show, we've talked about the importance of studying.
So, Sean, you said you would answer if you have. So, obviously, you did.
Yes.
You were Groundlings, UCLA.
Groundlings, UCLA for a semester. Groundlings for... I started in 87, for 3.5, 4 years, including the Sunday show, and then Playhouse West for another 3 after that. So I did about 7, 8 years of studying. And I mean, some of that was overlapping when I started working, but I studied for like 7 years. So yes, I did do that. Number 2, really interesting, the why of this. This is what I like, the why. He said, do a play. Now, a lot of people say this. John Lithgow, Alec Baldwin.
Did he say be in a play or do a play?
He said do a play. He meant be in a play.
Okay.
Be part of a play. And this is why. So producers and directors can see a fuller range of your work as opposed to just a 10-minute read for an audition in a specific role. So let's say you have a specific role of the tough guy. Well, if we saw a play of you in the tough guy, and the tough guy starts really harsh and then slowly becomes nicer, a la On the Waterfront, we get a much fuller range than a couple of scenes. And and believe me, all these autobiographies talk about theater and how important it is. So try to do plays. Because you have to do the full scope as opposed to film where you do little pieces at a time.
I also think that, or at least for me, doing plays really helped me with the fact that now when you don't have to repeat the same thing every single night for so many, it feels like different, fresh, helps you learn lines. You have to learn in such a different kind of way. Also, when you do theater growing up, at least, you're all hands-on. You now know how to build sets and about lighting and about hitting your mark and how to communicate with people. So I think it does a lot for the training side as well. So even if it's not just about being seen, like if you're not in Los Angeles, wherever you are, I think doing a play can help with this.
Yeah, it is. I remember when we did Psyche on Vine for 9 months, where one of the nights that we actually got to know each other better, it was, I mean, there were nights that I felt completely off, that the audience hated it, but then they gave us a standing ovation, or the crowd loved it, and then there was like a smattering of applaud. Like, it was just always so different, and the adjustment and the life of it had always changed over 9 months. So I did love doing that play, and it really, listen to all these autobiographies over the last several months. I'm like, ooh, I got to go do a play soon. But I'm doing my movie, so I can't right now. But yes, I agree with them. Do theater. Definitely do theater. Now, this one he just said all by himself, nothing to clarify or no subtext after it. He just said, it is just as hard being a working actor as it is being a star.
So that's interesting because
that's
you said
all he
13
says, by the way.
tips.
Yeah.
What is the tip here? Just to know that?
So we're
going to
just to let you, yes, just to know the knowledge of that. And I think what he's saying is, don't worry about being a star. Just worry about working. That's kind of what I get. Mr. Funtabulous, any takes on that?
I like your take. I think that's, you listen to it, but
That's literally what he said verbatim. Nothing else.
Sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
No, I think I agree with Sean on this one.
I actually kind of get the opposite.
Okay.
I feel like what he means is it's just as hard being a star as it is being a working actor.
So why worry about being a star?
No. What I think is a lot of people think the bigger you make it, the easier it is.
Oh,
and I feel like what he's saying is
the work never ends.
You're always
working.
Star, not like the job doesn't get easier the more you're booking.
Right.
The job is as hard no matter how big a star you are.
But a different shape. When I listen to
different shape.
But Alec Baldwin's was when he talked about being a star, as he got bigger, he got into more studio politics and a bunch of, shifting and back talking and business people shaking his hand and stabbing in the back and stuff like that. That's stuff that stars have to deal with.
Right.
But a working act, I see what you're saying.
I think he's saying it doesn't go away.
It doesn't go away. The work never ends.
Yeah.
The work never ends. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Okay. All right. Number 4. Now, I love this one, and Roxy will know I love this. Getting an agent isn't as important as meeting people yourself at social functions. He says, a synagogue, a party, a premiere.
Does he specifically say a synagogue?
He does.
I like it.
He does. And my story with that is he had a weekly pickup game. He played with a guy one time, and they got along so well, Hector Elizondo. And if you know Garry Marshall's movies, Hector Elizondo is in every single one. The manager of the hotel in Pretty Woman, the chauffeur driver in Princess Diaries 1 and 2 that ends up with Julie Andrews. He's in all of his film, and that was due to a basketball pickup game. So I know my friend Sam Lloyd. He's the same thing, a guy from Scrubs who we mentioned before. He also met some TV producers and got a series from playing basketball. Gary Goldman, he played with Gary Goldman. Another Gary playing basketball.
This is the Kevin Smith, Adam Sandler rule of thought.
Which is?
The people that you're friends with, that you socialize with, are the people you want to work with.
Right.
Or what you talked about, I think it was Tina Fey, who says people that you want to see in the hallway at 3 in the morning. It's the people that you socialize with, that you choose to be with, not the people that you have to work with.
Yeah. So he's basically talking, go and listen to my episode about networking. We talk specifically about this. And ironically, and I probably should have said this for my Sean's Week.
Do you want us to sing it again?
No.
Okay.
How about just week?
Yeah, okay. Turkey
1, 2, 3.
Week. It's pretty good.
The only sad part is it sounds like we're saying like
you're weak.
You're weak. Like someone's like a put down. But it's okay.
Should we have said strong?
Well, no,
But
it
it's
just
an intro.
no. The word weak
Yeah.
can be misconstrued.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna stick with it and move on.
Okay.
Like the pound. So a guy I went to
Did
lunch
you move
with.
on from the pound?
No, it still weighs on me. You can see it weighing on me, can't you?
Yeah.
I will call him Josh. I'm not gonna give his last name necessarily right now, but we met at the premiere of 3 from Hell, the Rob Zombie movie I did. We had a great conversation. He gave me his card. We reached out back and forth, around the holidays. We had to shift a couple times because I had an audition and then he had a script due. But we just met yesterday in Sherman Oaks for a nice lunch, really got to know each other. And he would love to work with me. He wants to come to my sketch show. He's probably going to come and talk to my students because he's been a writer because my sketch class is about writing. Networking.
Yeah.
And someone I met at a premiere but made an impression on. And that's what you do. That's what he's saying.
I think this goes for all areas of the industry.
Any industry you're in. I would say any industry, period.
Yeah. It can't hurt. I go to San Diego Comic-Con every year without fail, and everybody always makes fun of me, like, why do you work so hard to go there? Like, I plan my whole life around making it there.
Never been, and people tell me I'm an idiot.
But I say it books me my jobs for the entire following year.
Yeah.
Because I am everywhere. I go.
Right.
I stop by every NBC, FX,
I gotta come
Rotten
with you
Tomato.
next time.
I stop by every single party. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Show face, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, we're casting the thing.
Yeah,
Roxy, you'd be
yeah,
perfect
yeah,
for
yeah.
that." Like
Yeah.
literally, without fail, I book my entire year's work
Wow.
at Comic-Con. I mean, it's a
amazing.
slight exaggeration, but a lot of it comes from there, so I don't miss it because it's fun
Yeah.
and great.
Yep. It's great. And this goes to my 10%, 90%. The agent is only 10%. They're looking for jobs and trying to connect you. The 90% is you meeting people. So then you can call your agent, go, hey, give them a call. I met them at that party. I'd be right for this. So there you go. All right, number 5. This is another one-liner, no words after this. He just said, small parts don't make you a star, but give you experience for your next job. And I didn't write this, but he said, if there is one. But interesting, right? Small parts don't make you a star, but give you experience for your next job. Meaning, I think what he's saying is, don't take a small part and think, well, they're going to love me or whatever. Know what it is. Know how it fits in the long-term plan. That it's going to give you experience. It's going to, you're going to learn something. You're going to learn something from doing a small part.
I would push back on this a little bit because I think how many times has somebody been in a movie for under 5 minutes and you walk out of the movie and you'll remember that person.
Yeah.
And like that's what think about the girl from Mean Girls who's like sunshine and rainbows and they're like she doesn't even go here. Like
yeah.
She's in fucking 2 seconds of the movie.
Yeah.
But like it is so memorable. I think that it might not make you a household name.
Right. That may not make her a star. She may not be, sought after by every Hollywood mogul.
It sure makes you a bigger star than you were prior to taking it.
Exactly.
So I hear what he's saying, but I don't know. It could. Margot Robbie wasn't in that much of Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, it's true.
She was in some of it,
but it's not that small. Of a
no,
part.
it's not
she
that
played
small.
a big
But
girlfriend.
I would say it made her kind of a star.
Yeah, but I would.
Yeah, it's not a small
but
part.
I would not call that.
Yeah.
a small
Okay.
part.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough.
Number 6, again, another one that I will say is amazing because I did a whole episode on this. Give yourself a time limit to try to be a working actor. Listen to my podcast, The 2-Year Plan. It's exactly what this is about. Dive in, give it and then evaluate after the 2 years. He said, if you only get a few credits after those 2 years, can't make a living, then go home and teach acting with your experience. People need someone who's actually gone and tried it and had experience. Even kids, and he said this, it may even be more rewarding than having a career. Depends on the person, but it could be even more rewarding because then you're affecting so many lives instead of the struggle of just trying to get seen.
Do you feel like though, Sean, sometimes it takes as long as it takes and the people who make it are the ones who hang in?
I think, yeah, absolutely.
So,
Jenna Fischer came out with 4 people from her group. Most of them left after 3-4 years. She didn't start working for 6 years and then got the office after 8.
But if she had given herself a 2-year time limit.
No, but she also, after 2 years, she had made progress.
Okay, so
you're checking.
But he says if you only get a few credits, I would say a few credits is progress.
Yeah, So, but I'm saying you just have to know whatever progress means to you.
Yeah.
She got an agent, then she got some commercials, then she got her SAG card. There was things that were happening that kept her faith, rooted in something real.
Yeah, the big difference I see with the way you framed it, Sean, was give yourself 2 years, then evaluate yourself.
Right.
Evaluate your personal happiness. I feel like Garry Marshall's is more give yourself 2 years, and if you're not booking, you're not good. Like, I read his differently than I read yours.
Yeah, I think his is a little harsher, but mine said 2 years. His might say 5 or 6. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, but to me,
his is a little old school, right?
Without reassessing, time limits are kind of arbitrary. Right. And also, things are constantly changing in the industry. Yeah. So, like, your 2 years might, in a few years, be 3 years. Might be, like, whatever it is. And the option to reassess.
He's probably being a little old school and, like... but there's too many.
There's maybe a point to that, too, though, because if you're going to listen to that advice, if you're going to be like, okay, I read one book, it was Garry Marshall's, he told me to give myself 5 years, and if it doesn't work, go home. If you're the kind of person who goes home after that, then probably you were going to go home anyway.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
That's a good point. Really good point.
Because to me, the best actors are the ones who have no other choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, that's what I have to do. I'm staying no matter. So,
yeah. It's very good. Very interesting one, right? Number 8... I've said this, in my episode, Create Your Own Content. Number 8, make a video with your friends and post it online. Someone might see it and pass it on to someone else.
So this is the opposite of old school.
Yeah, this is the opposite. Very new school for Garry.
I will say, it was phrased a little old school, though. Can you read the way he phrased it again?
He said, make a video with your friends and post it on the internet.
On the internet.
Someone may see it and pass it on.
Someone.
Someone.
But I do agree with him.
Yeah,
he does. It's guys, listen to my episodes of Create Your Own Content. I think we did a few of those.
To come out here and leave without ever having posting something yourself,
insane. This is what you have that I didn't have. Yes, we got paid money, and it was easier to get work when you were in a certain place. But
anybody can be seen. We can all be seen.
Never had the opportunity. To make a film, you'd have to buy film shorts. These are little pieces of film. It was like $20,000. You could not make a short film for under $20,000. No way, because you had to buy the stock footage. So, all right. Don't spend a ton of money. This is number 9. Don't spend a ton of money getting headshots. Spend that money going to film festivals, as you may meet the right person and get an audition. So isn't that interesting? It's an expansion to me. I feel like it's kind of the same as networking. Yeah.
I think that for sure this is 2 different parts.
Right.
Don't spend a lot of money getting headshots and go to film festivals.
Right.
Because different people organize their money different ways.
Right.
But for me, don't spend a ton of money on your headshots is 100% true. I came out here and could not have dropped more money on my headshots. I had no plans on audition. I had no auditions. I had nowhere that I was going. I was just like, the first step is I got to get some headshots.
Yeah.
Spent maybe like $800 on headshots.
Crazy.
I never sent those headshots to one person.
Right.
Because then I was like, wait, what do I do with these?
Yeah, I don't even know.
So
I just heard that's what you were supposed to do. Yeah.
Crazy. So stupid. Spent like wasn't eating for a month.
Yeah. But I love the
shit.
idea of the film festival angle.
So that's the second part.
Angle.
Yeah, I really like that too.
Go and meet people and go up to a director after you saw a block of shorts and pick. And in my networking episode, please listen to what I say. Don't be phony. Let's say there's 5 shorts that you saw in a block and you liked 3 of them. Then go talk to those 3 directors. You know what I mean? You can see the other people and say, hey, nice job, or say hello, but talk to the people that actually you connect with, watching their work, and meet people. And then, of course, the parties and the red carpets, definitely meet people.
I would probably say if you're brand new, you're going to want to go to some smaller film festivals. Like, you're not going to want to make yourself go to Cannes for this film festival.
Yeah.
Like,
we're talking about
talk to?
Yeah, smaller film festival. Absolutely.
Check out what their local film festival
necessarily.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Number 10, do all forms of short films, videos, music videos, commercials. He says documentaries. All of them can help. He said, don't do anything that grosses you out. Now, pornography, he didn't say that necessarily. I think he does say X-rated or something like that. But
he says don't do that, or
he said don't do it if it
grosses you out.
grosses you out, because there's been porn stars that actually, ones that get into John Waters movies and stuff like that. It has happened.
Sasha
Very
Grey.
rare. Sasha Grey, right?
Yeah.
Do all those kind of things. Dick Van Dyke was seen doing a very small TV segment by, who was it that saw him? Oh, Carl Reiner. And then years later, he was on stage, and he said, I was in the right place at the right time. He was in the original Bye Bye Birdie. He had the very famous song, Put on a Happy Face. By the way, Dick Van Dyke, not a trained dancer at all.
Really?
Nope. Huh. Nope. Was just taught with choreography over time. Just he could obviously had an instinct for it immediately. But he was seen in the small thing, thought of later. They said, oh, where is he now? Oh, he's on Broadway. They went, and that's how he got the Dick Van Dyke Show. Damn. Carl Reiner. And so you're being seen. What he's saying is be seen, be seen. I talked about that in Jenna Fischer's book. Be seen. It's kind of this is kind of the internet one, right? A little bit, but he's saying do it
all different ways, because also then you're going to
Don't be snobby about it.
And you might find out you like something you didn't know you liked. Like maybe you're on a music video set and you're like, this is really cool. I want to go into that area, and you never thought about it. I just want people at home to know this, though. It's the most important part of the show so far. Sean made a rundown for this show that says on here, pornography, Dick Van Dyke story, which I was like, what the hell is he about to tell me?
That is so funny.
I was ready for some tea to be dropped.
Yes, no Dick Van Dyke tea.
Oh,
all right, number 7, I actually skipped this one. I went out of order. This is an odd one to me. Relatives, connections, and romances won't make you a star. Talent and showcasing will. And then he pauses and says, extra work will not hurt when starting out. Do those match up? They seem a little off to me.
I think what he's saying is, like, even if you get the gig through a connection, through a relative, through a romance, you still should work your butt off when you start, because the other things aren't going to help you.
Yeah, if you're known as the director's girlfriend or the director's boyfriend, that's not enough.
Yeah, so like you should still do that extra work, even if you
still
already
got to put in the time.
Yeah, but it is definitely seems like a non sequitur.
What, the extra work, right?
Yeah.
Then the extra, and we talked about, and it's not extra work, by the way. It's background acting. Which we had our guy in here.
I thought he was saying extra, like if you are working extra hard. You're thinking he's saying background extra work.
Yeah. Background will not hurt when you're starting out. Yeah. Or maybe he meant actual extra.
I was thinking he was saying extra effort.
Extra effort. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
That does make more sense.
Neither of them are totally transition.
But it's a little strange. Number 11, don't rely on one person to make your career. It takes a village. So meet a village with different types of people. Luck can be a good part of doing well. And I said, let's discuss this. Well, what he's saying is, again, don't rely on your agent. That's what he's saying. And he's saying network. So to me, this seemed like a repeat almost, or a little more specific. It's kind of networking. Build a big network of people that you can draw on so they can cast you, work with. You can cast them and your projects and, all the way around. That's what I think he's saying. Do not rely on one person. And I've said this, don't call your agent every day and go, why aren't I working? No, what are you doing? What are you doing to make your agent work for you easier?
It makes you way less attractive or appealing when you need somebody else that much, and they know that. So like when you have that one person that you're waiting for, you're not doing it, you just keep calling, and it's just not a good look.
Yeah, not at all. Number 12, very interesting. Stay healthy. Stay healthy. He said no one wants to be around a sick artist. And then he says stay away from negative people who put down your dreams, including family. Cultivate the positive. Very broad, I think, a life lesson, not necessarily an acting lesson. Stay healthy, and he's obviously talking about mental health as well. And using negative people as something that makes you, quote unquote, sick. They're sick people because they're negative and bringing you down. Stay positive. Don't surround yourself with people who support you. For me, I was very lucky. I had a support from across the board. My dad and my mom were very different, but my dad was encouraging. My mom was too. Brothers and sisters, family, friends. I had all the encouragement in the world. That was never an issue for me. So
same.
Yeah,
I
lucky,
think it's different
right?
than understanding, but you don't have to get it, but you have to be supportive or you cannot be in my life.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, I have no room for that.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky. My mom, my dad, my siblings, my friends,
Yeah.
they all were like,
all
you
supportive.
got this. Yeah.
So if you have, and he said, if you have a family that doesn't work with you on this, he's not saying, cut them off 100%, but then don't discuss this with them. Minimize it as part of your interactions.
Our founders, Keven Undergaro and Maria Menounos, talk about this all the time. Neither of their families were supportive at first, and they went a really long time without talking to either of their families. And
they just had to hunker down.
When Maria became a big star, the apologies came in. We're so sorry. And sometimes that happens, but I don't know if she would have been able. She talks about this on her own show all the time.
Okay.
But I don't know if she would have been able to, succeed if she had kept unsupportive people in her life all of the time. She needed to follow the dream.
I know some people who are definitely stuck in their life because these unsupportive people are surrounding them. So get away from them. Last one, and he said the most important, jealousy of others is a total waste of time and energy. What a great, again, I feel like that's more of a life lesson. Don't focus on what you're not getting because someone else is. Just, And I used to do that. I'd get so frustrated about 10, 15 years ago. But then again, I was in a situation where I was around people that were negative. Now I don't think about it at all.
Since meeting you, Sean, I don't know if I've ever said this to you.
No.
I use the word useful a lot more often because I think to myself, is this useful?
Right.
Is what I'm about to say useful? Is what I'm about to go to useful?
Right.
Is whatever. Is it useful? And it
jealousy
is not
so not useful. No. Not
useful.
All.
Not going to make me more successful to be jealous of somebody.
A therapist friend of mine said it's drinking the poison meant for someone else.
I like that. And also, if you're going to be completely cynical about it, the best thing to do when somebody else is doing well is be close to them.
Yeah, be close to them. Yeah, if you want to be. Yeah, you're right. And also,
to want friends that are succeeding,
or use it as a fire up your butt to you work harder.
Yeah.
So. I love those. So, what do you think of Garry's tips?
I think that a lot of these feel a little common sensey, however, are really hard to practice.
Right.
So I like looking at them and thinking about, like, really observing which of these am I doing, which of these could I put more effort into right now, you know, and making sure that just because something seems like, okay, I can do that, but are you actually doing that?
Right.
So I think that
it's like, for me, the doctor said, drink a lot of water every day. Well, I don't drink enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like it's common sense that you should drink water.
I should drink a lot more
water.
water.
Like, these are the tips. And if you actually want to do it, like you said, Sean, even do a play and you're like, I really need to do a play again.
Yeah, it's been a couple years.
So I got to do a play.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I think it's a really good checklist, like just making sure. And when you come to a stall and or stall and you're like, what should I do? Looking at this and being like, I haven't made a video with my friends and posted it in a while.
Yeah.
Let me do that one. Or,
yeah, exactly.
Staying healthy. Is there anybody in my life that's being negative?
Yeah.
Got to get them away. Like, you got to check in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, check them out. So I will very briefly, working with Garry Marshall on Never Been Kissed, he was just larger than life. I mean, honestly, that was just it. He had such a presence because he was like a godfather of entertainment anyway. And then he's just got this big, loud voice and attitude. And I did it last week, but it's my favorite line from Never Been Kissed when he's like, "Wieners, we're at a baseball game. We need wieners." So funny. And that was fantastic. But
and you said improv, right?
Yeah. And my Henry Winkler story, Star of Happy Days, created by Garry Marshall. I was at Disney. I was standing outside of the room. I was looking at my sides. I was waiting to audition for something. Looking at my sides, I saw him from the corner when I walked down that hallway, and I thought, oh, my God, that's Henry Winkler. I turned around, and next thing I know, he's right next to me. And he goes, hi. And I go, hi. And he goes, so how do you feel? And I goes, do you feel ready, relaxed? I said, yeah, I think I feel pretty good. He goes, go have fun. And no, it's not the end of the world. But if you think it's not the end of the world, then you'll have more fun and just relax and play. That's my advice. And I said, thank you so much. So I'm a huge fan. And he goes, oh, thank you. Very humble. Literally went out of his way just to give some nice advice to an actor. Isn't that great?
I think it's amazing, and I think it's amazing you took it that way, too.
Yeah.
Because I feel like some people standing there would not have been as happy about getting unsolicited advice.
Well, but
it's Henry Winkler.
And he's also just I don't know, and you have a meeting of him too? I
do.
But his warmth, you know what I mean? It's like infectious. His warmth is so loving that it's hard to take it offensive. What was your story?
Also, he was in Adventures of Serial Buddy, which is Keven Undergaro's movie.
Okay.
So Kevin and him know each other.
Okay.
I met him on an airplane.
Okay.
In which I was convinced, I was maybe like 17 years old, right. And I was convinced that he was a guy named Phil Levoff, who was my old basketball coach. And I went up to him because you know when you can't you can't place it. And so I went up to him and I went right up to him, Phil.
Oh God, it's awesome.
And he was like, we were at the airport. No, and I said, Phil Levoff. No, Phil Levoff, my remember?
Oh my God. And you kept going.
Sean, I'm going to say 15 minutes of me walking around. We get on the plane, by each other on the plane. I'm standing waiting. He's in the front. I'm obviously not first class, but he's sitting in his first class seat. Yeah. I'm walking by him, but the bags are taking a long time. So I'm standing there. I'm like, you really don't? You weren't my basket. And he was finally looked at me and goes, hey. And I was like, what?
Oh.
What? And he was like, you know me because I'm the Fonz. Like, cause he was like so kind for the whole time, and was like literally said, "Hey, you know me because I'm the Fonz."
Oh, and I was like, "Were you mortified?"
Well, because obviously I watched the show. It all clicked, but
hilarious.
Yeah, I was like,
and so
that is how
about
I know
it.
He
right?
was so sweet. It was painful. I wish he had been a dick.
Yeah, right. It would have been easier.
I had followed him around the entire airport, Sean.
That's so good. I love that.
No, that was the masshole in me.
I
was like, no, this is who you are.
Yeah, I know.
For some reason, you're lying about
I know who you are.
I know who you are.
Why are you lying?
Yeah, 100% followed him.
Awesome. That's amazing. Yes, he's a wonderful man.
Thank you to Henry Winkler for being so
Another
kind.
quick story from him. When Fonz was so popular, episode year 2 or 3, they said, we're going to change the show to the Fonz. He said, there's no way. We have Ron Howard here, who is a respected actor, as our lead. There is no way I am changing. He told the network, absolutely not. You will not take that away. Yeah. And not many people would do that. So we have run out of time. So where do we find you, Roxy?
Not at the airport with Henry Winkler. You can find me everywhere at Roxy Striar.
Mr. Funtabulous.
Everywhere at Jeffrey C. Actually, that's not true. On Twitter at Jeffrey C. Graham and Instagram at Jeffrey Crane Graham.
I am at That Guy SMW on Instagram and Twitter. You can reach out for me for acting coaching, SeanWhalenBiz@gmail.com. Not accepting that many students right now, but if you want to give it a shot, that's fine. And then you can find me on Facebook at Sean Whalen Peeps. Join that group and you'll get all caught up. So, as always, thank you for letting me be part of your journey.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.